When it comes to college admissions essays, what's too much information? Hi, I'm Dr. Meg. I've helped many people write uncringy essays. Stay tuned for my best tips. So I just want to quickly say that the topic today, it touches on sensitive subjects. Learning differences are often intermingled with mental health struggles. I know because I've struggled with both, and I don't take any of this lightly. And this video is only useful if a kid is at a strong enough point where they're ready to tell their story. If they're not, they need to get more help. And they need to take their time and not be rushed into college admissions. There are so many ways to get to college, including gap years, taking a break. It's more important that a kid is thriving than that they're going on some sort of track to whatever is expected of them. That's something I'm very adamant about. So if your student has gotten a learning difference diagnosis in the past few years, or maybe they got it earlier on as a kid, they probably want to share their story, but are nervous to or aren't sure how much to include in an application. And a lot of times I find that teenagers are very noble creatures. They really feel like authenticity and sincerity and being earnest is more important than outcome even. They would rather be true to themselves and tell their story and be honest and not get into a school than to cover it up and not. And meanwhile, parents tend to be more conservative and think, well, I just want them to do well in admissions, and I don't know if they should talk about this. So I have a few principles that I'm going to share that should hopefully clarify when and how and where to include learning differences in an application. Stay tuned. So the first thing to keep in mind for an application is that a student is applying to be a student at a school. That seems obvious, but it gets very convoluted because so much of the resources out there are about, vulnerability in a college essay and telling your story and who are you and what's your personality and what are your values, and all of that's really great. But just keep in mind that schools want to know all of that because they want to know what kind of student your kid is going to be at their school. They want to know about vulnerability because they want to have students who are emotionally intelligent and mature. They want to know if someone can tell their story because they want to see if a kid has self-awareness. These are social skills and emotional intelligence skills that they're screening. So if you think about who your kid is as a student, think in terms of that. That can help determine if and when you share learning differences like dysgraphia or ADHD, being on the spectrum. These things can be relevant, particularly if a student has overcome challenges and it's made them a more resilient, humble, grounded kid, or they have extreme creativity, or they, like to do deep dives and they go really into research. A lot of times it's a mixed bag, right? And there are a lot of gifts that can come along with the challenges of a learning differences diagnosis. The second principle to consider, I talk about this a lot, it's the idea of the rear view mirror. So if a kid struggled in high school, maybe earlier on because they didn't know they had ADHD, then it can be important to explain to a school that that problem is in the rear view mirror. And not only that, but the kid got the support they needed and they're actually a stronger applicant because of it. When learning differences mean that a kid has needed to have more resilience, more grit, humility, flexibility, all these wonderful qualities, I think that's worth sharing. But it might not be in the personal statement. You might want to share it in the additional information section of that application where, you explain anything that needs a little bit more explanation and a learning difference if it's in the past fully handled, not affecting a student anymore in a negative way. That can be a great place to put that. My final point is that when it comes to college admissions, memorable is best. And this can be a hard point to make with a student for whom ADHD has been the hardest thing they've been through and at the core of their story and who they are. It's hard to say, well, that's actually a pretty common thing that a lot of students write about. But I think a way to think about this is how can a student tell their story in a unique way? So a good example is the show The Walking Dead about zombies. It does not, throughout the entire TV show, ever use the word zombies, not once, but it's about zombies. So, how can a student say write about ADHD but not say ADHD? For instance, like I have ADHD and I do a lot of deep dives. And when I was a teenager, I got obsessed with making pies and cakes and especially like doing chocolate work and things like that. So, that could be a way of showing that I had hyperfocus a lot of the time. And that actually made me a great student because I would get really, really into whatever subject I was into. So, just think around it, think creatively, and know that a student can tell whatever story they want. There's a way to do it that's going to be more effective in admissions. Think in terms of memorability instead of what's personal, what's authentic. Those things will get sorted out when you've got your focus on the right thing. If you found this useful today, please like my video and subscribe to my channel. And also make sure to sign up for my freebies. I've got a great quiz. What kind of parent are you when it comes to college admissions? I also have a free ebook, my top 10 tips for reducing stress in the college admissions process. It's some of my best advice I've accumulated over many, many years of work in the independent college counseling industry. That's all for now. Thanks. I'm Dr. Meg.